if you've heard the term secondary infertility and you're like, huh? So what this is essentially the inability to conceive, carry a healthy pregnancy after you've already had one or more children that you know conceived just through intercourse. And this is a pretty common fertility challenge, but for obvious reasons, it can be really distressing. For example, gosh, I got pregnant with my son while I was on birth control. We were not trying. And so like about 6 years later, when my husband and I decided that we were ready to have another baby, we thought, oh, well, it was so easy the first time, like we didn't even try. And so like I naively thought like, oh yeah, I'll just like get pregnant the first month we try. That didn't happen. It took almost a year for me to become pregnant with a pregnancy that ended in miscarriage. And then it took me another 9 months after that to conceive my daughter. And the month that I conceived her, I was just a month away from going to see a fertility doctor to receive treatments. So an important part of learning about secondary infertility is understanding why it might happen. So one common reason that somebody might experience secondary infertility is that they have a new partner that they're trying to become pregnant with. So for example, you know, you were married or weren't married, you had a partner that you had a baby with, then you guys separated, and now you're with somebody new. You know, in this case, it would be somebody with ovaries, somebody with testes that are having a baby through intercourse, and you're having secondary infertility because your new partner might have fertility issues. Maybe there's not semen in their ejaculate. Maybe they're not able to ejaculate. Maybe their sperm isn't healthy. There could be a lot of reasons. So that is one potential cause of secondary infertility. And the other is that one or both partners might have developed a fertility issue since you conceived your initial child or children. And for women, you know, this might be like an ovulation disorder that developed, endometriosis, growths in the uterus like fibroids, or just an increase in age, which, you know, has reduced your ovarian reserve, which is the quality and quantity of your eggs. I think that is probably a big reason why I struggled to conceive a healthy pregnancy after I had my son. You know, by the time I finally conceived my daughter, it was 8 years after I had conceived my son, so I was a lot older. And then again, I mentioned different sperm issues could develop. And so to determine why secondary infertility might be occurring, the only way to find this answer is often to go to a fertility clinic. And first they'll look at the medical fertility history of both of the mother, the father, both partners. They'll do a physical exam. Both partners will receive a blood work that helps to review or helps the doctor assess their reproductive hormone levels. Women will have an ultrasound that allows the doctor to assess her uterus, her ovaries. The man will receive a semen analysis. And sometimes more extensive testing is required. Sometimes a man will be referred to a urologist for more extensive testing. Sometimes the woman might need something like a HSG, which means that a radiologist injects this the fluid into the uterus, and then it's a fluid that can be seen through X-ray, and this helps to assess if there's any blockages in the fallopian tubes. So they watch like if the fluid can go up through the fallopian tubes, there's not a blockage, but if it can't, that indicates a blockage. It can help assess different things. There's also surgical evaluations of infertility that involve the fertility doctor essentially sending this like tiny little telescope into the through either the vagina or the belly button, and it can look through the uterus, evaluate the uterus. During the same time, this it's either a hysteroscopy or a laparoscopy, and it can also be used to fix certain fertility issues, such as blockages in the fallopian tubes or something like a fibroid. Okay, so after these evaluations, if certain issues are discovered, there are a variety of fertility treatments that the doctor might recommend. This certainly isn't a comprehensive list that I'm going to go through, but it's a few common ones. Okay, so intrauterine insemination, also called an IUI. This consists of the woman tracking her ovulation with an ovulation prediction kit. The day after ovulation likely occurs, the woman will go into the fertility clinic, and the fertility doctor will insert semen from the woman's partner or a sperm donor right into her uterus, where it can then go up through the fallopian tubes, hopefully fertilize that egg. That embryo or that fertilized egg then goes into the uterus, implants, grows into a healthy pregnancy. In this situation, obviously the male partner or the sperm donor would provide a sperm sample prior to the IUI. The doctor might also recommend IUI with an ovulation induction medication called Clomid, and this is a pill that a woman would take. It's not an injectable medication. And they would have a woman take Clomid if she potentially has different ovulation issues, an ovulation disorder. And so then she would take the Clomid as instructed, track ovulation. Again, after the ovulation occurs, they do the IUI. The most invasive, but often the most effective fertility treatment is IVF. I have a video that I posted about IVF that goes deep into what that involves, the different medications you would take. But just to give you a brief overview, IVF involves the woman taking ovulation induction medications. These are injectable medications that she gives in the lower abdomen, usually around the fatty tissue around the belly button. And she's usually on these medications. She takes them every day for like 10 to 13 days. About every other day, she receives monitoring at the fertility clinic. So, and the monitoring is a blood test and ultrasound. So her reproductive hormones can be evaluated, and then the size of the maturing eggs. So these medications cause multiple eggs to mature instead of just like the one egg that matures and releases typically each month during just normal ovulation. When enough eggs reach an ideal size, the doctor has the woman take what's called a trigger shot. This causes the eggs to have the final maturation and then release, and they release about like a little over 35 to 36 hours later. So during that time, the woman goes into the fertility clinic. She is put under general anesthesia, and the doctor retrieves the eggs during a simple procedure. It takes maybe about 15 minutes, and then the woman rests that day. She might have a little bit of cramping, a little bit of spotting, but usually she's fine to go back to work or whatever she does the day after, except they typically say don't do any strenuous activity until you get a period after the egg retrieval. And usually that happens about a week or two after the egg retrieval. So take it easy, but you can usually do like go back to school or do low activity work. Okay, after they retrieve the eggs, they send them to the fertility lab where an embryologist fertilizes the eggs with sperm from the male partner or a sperm donor. Once the eggs mature, they can then test the embryos if the fertility doctor suspects that maybe like chromosomal issues, like genetic issues, are causing problems with the embryos. They can test the embryos, and that helps to ensure that the fertility doctor then transfers a healthy embryo back into the woman's uterus during the embryo transfer, which is a really short, easy procedure. The woman goes into the clinic, and the doctor inserts that embryo, where hopefully it develops into a healthy pregnancy. All right, so if you have any questions about secondary infertility, anything else related to fertility, pregnancy, childbirth, and beyond, please let me know in the comments below.